Jack Morrison adjusted his blue diplomatic uniform as he stepped through the airlock onto Nexus Station. The massive metal doors hissed shut behind him and his team. The air smelled different here, cleaner somehow, filtered through alien technology that human engineers still didn't fully understand. "Remember, stay calm no matter what they say," Jack whispered to his advisors, Lisa Bennett and Kevin Wright. Both nodded, their faces showing the same tension that gripped his stomach. They walked down the long corridor toward the main council chamber. The walls were made of some strange metal that seemed to shift colors as they moved. Jack had been to Nexus Station 3 times before, but it still amazed him. 47 different alien species had built this place together. It was supposed to be a symbol of peace. Today, Jack worried it might become a symbol of something else entirely. The massive doors to the council chamber opened silently. Inside, the representatives of 46 alien species waited in their designated areas. Each species had its own special seat designed for their unique body shapes. Some floated in liquid-filled tanks. Others stood on metal perches. A few hung from the ceiling. The Zephyrians looked like giant birds with silver feathers. The Corlin resembled massive crabs with too many arms. The Thanari were tall and thin, their skin the color of deep space with eyes that seemed to glow in the dim light. Jack led his team to the human section, 3 simple chairs on a raised platform. As they sat down, Jack noticed something unusual. The usual chatter and movement among the aliens had stopped. Every delegation was focused on them. Zach Thule, the Zephyrian who currently led the council, spread his silver wings. When he spoke, his voice came through the translation device as a harsh squawk. "Ambassador Morrison of Earth, we have called this emergency session to address the threat that humanity poses to galactic peace." Jack felt his heart skip a beat but kept his face calm. "The threat we pose? My government was under the impression this was a standard trade negotiation session." "You were mistaken," rumbled General Vexitar, the Corlin representative. His many arms clicked against his armored shell. "Human expansion has become too rapid. Your military grows too strong. Your technology advances too quickly. We have maintained all existing treaties," Lisa Bennett spoke up from Jack's right. "Our expansion has been within agreed-upon boundaries." Theron, the Thanari spokesman, stepped forward on his stick-thin legs, his glowing eyes fixed on Jack. "The Council has determined that existing treaties are insufficient. Humanity must accept new limitations immediately." Jack glanced at Kevin Wright, who gave an almost invisible shake of his head. They had suspected this might happen. Earth's intelligence agencies had picked up increased communications between alien governments over the past month, but they had hoped for more time. "What kind of limitations?" Jack asked. Zach Thule's wings rustled as he accessed a device in front of him. A holographic display appeared above the center of the chamber. Text scrolled across it in 47 different languages, including English. "The Galactic Limitation Treaty proposes the following," Zach Thule announced. "Humanity will cease all military ship construction immediately. All human colony ships currently in transit will be redirected back to Earth. Human research into quantum physics, gravitational manipulation, and artificial intelligence will be frozen at current levels and monitored by Council inspectors." Jack felt the blood drain from his face. These weren't limitations, this was a cage. "Furthermore," General Vexitar continued, his voice like grinding stone, "Earth will surrender all existing quantum drive vessels to Council oversight. Your defensive installations will be reduced by 70%. Human colonies outside your home system will be governed by Council-appointed administrators." The chamber fell silent except for the soft hum of life support systems. Jack could hear his own heartbeat in his ears. Around him he sensed Lisa and Kevin's shock, though they maintained their diplomatic masks. "These terms are, as I'm sure you understand, quite comprehensive," Theron said. His voice was softer than the others, almost gentle. "Humanity has 36 standard hours to accept them. And if we don't?" The words were out of Jack's mouth before he could stop them. The silence that followed was different from before, heavier, more dangerous. Zach Thule's silver feathers ruffled. "Then the Council will be forced to take additional measures to ensure galactic stability." "Additional measures?" Kevin Wright leaned forward slightly. Could you clarify what that means? The Council maintains significant defensive assets, General Vextar said bluntly. Assets sufficient to neutralize any threat to galactic peace. We hope humanity will be reasonable and avoid forcing us to demonstrate this capability. Jack's mind raced. They were trapped. Accept these terms and humanity would become a second-class species, forever limited to Earth and a handful of closely watched colonies. Refuse, and face a war against 46 allied species with technology humanity hadn't even begun to understand. The Council vote was overwhelming, Theron added, his glowing eyes moving between the three humans. 41 species voted in favor of these measures. 4 abstained. Only 1 voted against. Jack almost asked which species had voted against the measures but caught himself. In this situation, knowing who their friends were might make things worse for those friends. These limitations would effectively end human expansion into space, Lisa Bennett said carefully. They would prevent us from developing technologies that could benefit all species. Surely there's room for negotiation here. The terms are final, Zachthul stated firmly. Humanity has 36 hours to decide. We suggest you use this time wisely. Jack stood slowly. His team followed his lead. We will need to consult with our government. When you say 36 hours, I assume you mean 36 hours from now? Correct, the timer begins the moment you leave this chamber. Jack nodded. Then, with the Council's permission, we'll return to our ship and contact Earth. You have permission to use Council communication facilities if needed, Theron offered. Though we understand if you prefer your own systems. Thank you, but we'll use our own ship's equipment, Jack replied. He turned to leave, then paused. Before we go, may I ask one question? Zachthul tilted his avian head. You may ask. Why now? Humanity has been expanding for 500 years. We've had friction with other species before, but nothing that couldn't be resolved through discussion. What changed? The 3 main council leaders exchanged glances. Finally, Zachthul answered. Your rate of advancement has accelerated beyond acceptable parameters. 500 years ago, humanity was barely leaving your home system. Today, you have colonies in 12 systems and ships that approach superluminal speeds. Computer projections suggest that in another 500 years, humanity could rival any species in this council for technological and military power. Jack absorbed this information quietly. So this is about fear. This is about stability, General Vexistar corrected. The galactic order has been stable for thousands of years. Rapid change threatens that stability. Jack nodded slowly. I understand. Your position. Thank you for being direct with us. Without further words, Jack, Lisa, and Kevin turned and walked toward the exit. Behind them, alien voices began to rise in multiple languages, but the translation wasn't clear enough to make out individual words. As they passed through the corridor back toward their ship, Lisa walked closer to Jack. Sir, we need to contact Earth immediately. I know, Jack said quietly, but I have a feeling they already know what's happening here. Kevin looked puzzled. How could they know? Jack smiled grimly. Because Earth has its own computer projections, and I suspect they've been preparing for this day for a long time. The airlock to their shuttle opened, and Jack took one last look, back at Nexus Station. 36 hours to decide the fate of humanity. He suspected that someone on Earth had already made that decision years ago. The shuttle's engines engaged as they sealed the airlock. Within moments, they were moving away from the station toward the UNS Independence, humanity's newest diplomatic vessel. Jack wondered if anyone else noticed how heavily armed it was for a diplomatic ship. In 36 hours, the galaxy would learn whether humanity would accept chains or choose a different path entirely. As Jack stared out at the stars, he realized he already knew which path they would take. The countdown had begun. The shuttle docked with the UNS Independence 20 minutes later. Jack Morrison barely waited for the airlock to seal before he was moving through the corridors toward the command center. Lisa Bennett and Kevin Wright followed closely behind, their formal diplomatic masks finally dropping. That was a declaration of war disguised as a treaty, Lisa said, her voice tight with anger. "They're scared," Kevin added. "Did you see how they looked at us? Even the Corlin seemed nervous. And they're usually the most aggressive species in the council." Jack pushed through the heavy doors of the command center. Captain Pete Williams looked up from his command station, reading Jack's expression immediately. "How? Bad?" Pete asked. "Bad enough. Get me a secure quantum link to Earth. Priority 1. And I want all department heads here in 5 minutes." "Yes, sir." As Pete began issuing orders, Jack moved to the central holographic display. "Show me our current status. Defense grid, nearest ships, everything." The hologram flickered to life, showing the Independence in green, surrounded by Nexus Station in neutral white. Red dots appeared throughout the display, marking alien vessels in the area. "Sir," Lieutenant Amy Chen called from her station. "We're detecting unusual movement in the outer system. 3 alien battle groups have entered the edge of the heliosphere in the last hour." Jack felt his stomach tighten. They were already mobilizing before the meeting ended. Kevin crossed his arms. "This isn't about negotiations. It's about surrender or destruction." The quantum communicator activated with a soft hum. President Helen Carter's image appeared on the main screen, her gray hair perfectly styled, despite the late hour in Washington. "Ambassador Morrison," she said formally. Then her voice softened slightly. "Jack, tell me they've seen reason." "No, ma'am. They've issued an ultimatum. 36 hours to accept complete subjugation or face military action." The bridge fell silent. President Carter's lips pressed into a thin line. "Send me the full terms immediately. We'll analyze them here." "Already transmitting," Lisa confirmed from her station. "Ma'am," Jack continued, "we need to discuss something else. Our intelligence showed this wasn't a spontaneous decision. They've been planning this." "We know," President Carter replied, causing Jack's eyebrows to rise. "Defense Secretary Paul Chen detected the alien military buildup 3 months ago. We've been watching their communications ever since." A new voice entered the channel. "Morrison, this is Chen." Defense Secretary Paul Chen appeared on a split screen. "Our analysis shows at least 16 species have been secretly rearming beyond treaty levels. The Council isn't just afraid of our expansion. They're afraid we'll discover something." "Discover what?" Jack asked. Secretary Chen paused. "Admiral Nancy Rodriguez will explain. She's been coordinating our preparations." A third window opened. Admiral Nancy Rodriguez looked tired but determined. "Gentlemen, what I'm about to tell you is classified at the highest levels. 3 months ago, our deep space monitoring stations detected anomalies in the galactic defense grid." She brought up a star map. "The Council maintains this grid, supposedly, for protection against external threats. But we discovered something. The grid isn't just pointing outward. Significant portions are aimed at human space." Kevin leaned forward. "They've been preparing to attack us for months?" "Not attack, Admiral," Rodriguez corrected. "Contain. The grid is designed to prevent any species from achieving certain technological milestones. When a species gets too advanced, the Council intervenes." Jack felt pieces clicking into place. "That's why our advancement scared them so much. We were approaching a threshold." "Exactly, and we've been preparing for this possibility since we discovered their intentions." President Carter's image moved to full screen. "Jack, I'm going to ask you a question, and I need your honest assessment. Do you believe there's any chance of reaching a genuine compromise with the Council?" Jack thought about the fear in the alien delegates' eyes. The prepositioned battle groups, the ultimatum that left no room for discussion. "No, ma'am, this was never about negotiation. They've already decided humanity is a threat to their order. The only question is whether we submit or fight." "Then we fight," President Carter said simply. "Admiral Rodriguez, implement Protocol Omega." Nancy Rodriguez nodded, and her image switched to what appeared to be a massive military briefing room. "All ships, all stations, this is Admiral Rodriguez. Protocol Omega is now active. I repeat, Protocol Omega is active." Jack stared at the screen. "Ma'am, what is Protocol Omega?" President Carter smiled grimly. "Something we hoped we'd never have to use. Jack, For the past 5 years, working in complete secrecy, humanity has been developing technologies far beyond what the Council believes we possess. Quantum drives that are twice as fast as anything currently in service, Admiral Rodriguez continued. Gravitational weapons derived from black hole research. Shield technology that would make our ships virtually invulnerable. And most importantly, she paused. We've developed a way to neutralize their defensive grid. Lisa Bennett gasped softly. You mean we've been playing weak? Appearing weak while being strong, Secretary Chen confirmed. The Council thought humanity was 500 years behind the most advanced species. In reality, we may be 50 years ahead. Captain Williams spoke up. Admiral, what are our orders? All human vessels are to return to Sol space immediately. Admiral Rodriguez responded. The Independence will remain on station until Ambassador Morrison delivers our response to the Council. Jack straightened. What response? President Carter's expression hardened. You're going to walk back into that chamber tomorrow and decline their ultimatum. Not with anger, not with threats, with the simple confidence of a species that knows its own strength. And then? Jack asked. Then we'll see how committed they are to their threats, Secretary Chen replied. Our fleets will be ready. Our defenses will be online. If they choose violence, they'll discover just how much humanity has been holding back. Kevin Wright shifted uncomfortably. Ma'am, are we talking about starting an interstellar war? No, President Carter said firmly. We're talking about ending one. The Council has been at war with human potential for years. Tomorrow they'll learn that they miscalculated. Jack nodded slowly. I understand, ma'am. We'll deliver your message. Jack, President Carter added, her voice softer. I know what I'm asking of you and your team. You'll be in the most dangerous position when this begins. That's why we volunteered for diplomatic service, ma'am. To stand between humanity and those who would harm us. Admiral Rodriguez spoke up. Ambassador, we're sending updated tactical data to the Independence. Captain Williams will brief you on modifications we've made to your ship. An ambassador? Yes, Admiral? Don't let them follow you back here. The Independence has some new capabilities they don't know about. Use them if necessary. The communications ended, leaving the bridge crew in stunned silence. Jack turned to Pete Williams. Captain, you heard the Admiral. I want to know everything about these modifications, and prepare our staff for what's coming. As orders began flowing across the ship, Jack walked to the observation deck. Through the transparent aluminum, he could see Nexus Station floating. In the distance, alien ships moving in careful patterns around it. 34 hours left, Lisa said, joining him at the window. Jack nodded. 34 hours for them to reconsider. 34 hours for us to prepare to change the galaxy. Forever. Do you really think we can do this? Jack watched as more alien ships appeared on the horizon. 5 years ago, I would have said no. Today? He smiled. Today I pity them. They have no idea what's about to hit them. Deep in the bowels of the Independent, systems that had been dormant since launch began coming online. Engineers who had trained for this moment in absolute secrecy moved into position. The ship's true nature was about to be revealed. In 34 hours, the galaxy would learn that humanity had been playing a very different game all along, and the stakes were about to be raised beyond anyone's imagining. Jack Morrison walked through the corridors of Nexus Station for the second time in 2 days. This time felt different. His diplomatic uniform seemed lighter, and his steps were more confident. Lisa Bennett and Kevin Wright flanked him, both showing the same calm determination. 12 hours early, Kevin muttered under his breath. They won't expect that. They'll know what it means, Lisa replied quietly. Jack said nothing, but he felt the weight of the moment. Hidden in his earpiece was a direct connection to the Independence's command center. Captain Pete Williams could track everything happening. Inside the council chamber, the massive doors opened to reveal the council chamber. Every species was present, their representatives shifting restlessly in their designated areas. The ambient light seemed dimmer than before, and Jack noticed several alien security forces positioned at key points around the chamber. Zach Thule, the Zephyrian council leader, extended his silver wings in what appeared to be surprise. Ambassador Morrison, we were not expecting you for another 24 standard hours. Humanity has reached its decision, Jack announced clearly, his voice carrying across the chamber without assistance from the translation system. We felt it inappropriate to keep the council waiting. The 46 alien delegations fell silent. Jack could sense their tension radiating across the room. General Vextar's armored shell clicked nervously. Theron's glowing eyes narrowed as he studied the three humans. Jack walked to the center of the chamber, stopping at the designated human speaking position. He didn't wait for permission to begin. The Galactic Council has presented humanity with terms for our continued existence in space, he began, his voice steady. These terms would effectively end human expansion, reduce our defenses, surrender our technology, and place our colonies under alien administration. Terms designed to ensure galactic stability, Zakthul interrupted, his avian voice sharp. Terms designed to ensure subjugation, Jack corrected firmly. But that's not why I'm here early. He reached into his uniform pocket and withdrew a small data crystal. The movement caused several alien security forces to tense visibly. Jack ignored them and held the crystal aloft. This contains humanity's formal response to the Council's ultimatum. General Vextar leaned forward, his multiple arms clicking against his armored chest. Then deliver it quickly, human, the Council grows impatient. Jack smiled slightly. I believe it's customary for the receiving party to collect diplomatic messages from the offering party, General. A murmur rippled through the chamber. In Council protocol, having the receiver come to collect an official message was a subtle but clear indication of the sender's confidence, or even superiority. Zakthul's feathers ruffled with irritation. Very well. Theron, retrieve the human. Response. The tall, thin Thanari moved gracefully across the chamber floor, his glowing eyes fixed on Jack. As Theron reached for the crystal, Jack spoke again. Before you read our response, there's something the Council should understand. Theron paused, his long fingers hovering over the crystal. The Council has operated under certain assumptions about humanity, Jack continued. Our technological level, our military capabilities, our preparedness for this moment. Your assumptions are noted, General Vextar growled. Now surrender the message. Jack placed the crystal firmly in Theron's palm. All of your assumptions were incorrect. As Theron turned to walk back to the Council's main platform, Jack triggered the hidden communication device in his collar. A single word, Alpha. 600 light-years away in the Sol system, Admiral Nancy Rodriguez received the signal and smiled grimly. All units, execute Phase 1. Back in the Council chamber, Theron inserted the crystal into the Council's main display system. Text appeared in multiple languages, but before anyone could read it, Jack spoke loud enough for all to hear. Humanity respectfully declines the Council's terms. The chamber erupted in alien voices. Shrieks, roars, clicks, and sounds no human throat could produce filled the air. Jack stood motionless at the center of it all, waiting. Silence. Zakthul's amplified voice cut through the chaos. The chamber gradually quieted. Ambassador Morrison, your species has chosen foolishly. The Council is prepared to enforce its will through military action if necessary. We know, Jack said simply. We've known for months. General Vextar's armored shell opened and closed rapidly. What do you mean? Your battle groups entered our detection range months ago, Jack explained calmly. Your communications were intercepted. Your defensive grid modifications were observed. Humanity has been watching the Council prepare for war against us. Impossible, Theron interjected, his usually calm voice betraying alarm. Our communications are encrypted with quantum matrix protocols. Yes, Jack interrupted. We broke those codes 7 months ago. A stunned silence fell over the chamber. Jack could see the implications dawning on various alien faces. That's impossible, Zakthul stated flatly. No species has broken galactic standard encryption in 3,000 years. Jack's smile widened. No single species has. But humanity doesn't approach problems the way other species do. He turned slowly, addressing the entire council now. While you've spent centuries maintaining the same technologies, the same alliances, the same ways of thinking, humanity has been adapting, evolving, innovating. Your species has 500 years of spaceflight, General Vextar challenged. The youngest council member has 3,000 years of technological development. Age doesn't equal advancement, General. Sometimes, fresh perspectives solve problems that experience has made blind to. Jack touched his earpiece. Captain Williams, initiate the demonstration. Demonstration acknowledged, came Pete's voice, too quiet for alien sensors to detect. The chamber's main display suddenly activated, showing an external view of space around Nexus Station. The assembled delegates watched as energy signatures bloomed across the display. Those are human vessels, Jack announced. Ships you didn't detect approaching. Ships using technologies you assured yourselves we didn't possess. The display showed 17 human warships materializing from apparent empty space around the station. Ships that hadn't been there moments before, now clearly visible and marked with United Nations registration codes. Stealth systems beyond your detection capabilities, Jack explained as panic began spreading through the alien delegates. Quantum drives that make our ships 30% faster than your fastest vessels. Weapons based on gravitational manipulation. Zach Thul's voice rose to a shriek. This is an act of war. You dare bring a fleet to neutral space. No, Jack corrected, his voice cutting through the rising chaos. This is a demonstration of capability. These ships have not charged weapons. They have not locked targeting systems. They are simply present. He paused, letting that sink in before continuing. But you are correct about one thing, Counselor. War is coming. But humanity didn't start it. Jack gestured broadly at the assembled aliens. For the past 3 months, you have positioned forces in human space. You have prepared to enforce your ultimatum through violence. You declared war, the moment you decided humanity's advancement was a threat to your comfortable order. The council chamber devolved into chaos. Alien voices rose in multiple languages, creating a cacophony of fear, anger, and confusion. Security forces moved uncertainly, unsure whether to arrest the human delegates or protect them from potential violence. Jack raised his voice one final time. Humanity has no interest in conquest, but we will not be caged. We will not be limited. And we will not surrender our future to those afraid of change. He turned to his advisors. Lisa, Kevin, we're leaving. As the 3 humans walked toward the exit, Jack could hear the council erupting into fierce debate behind them. Some voices called for immediate attack. Others demanded explanation of how humanity had developed such capabilities. A few, surprisingly, called for reconsidering the council's position entirely. At the massive doors, Jack paused and turned back one final time. The galaxy has existed under your order for thousands of years. Perhaps it's time for something new. Without waiting for a response, Jack Morrison led his team out of the council chamber and toward their shuttle. Behind them, the representatives of 46 alien species watched them go with a mixture of fear, anger, and for the first time in millennia, uncertainty. In space, 17 human warships maintained their positions, their presence a silent declaration that the age of humanity's weakness was over. And deep in the Sol system, Admiral Rodriguez began Phase 2 of Protocol Omega. The walkout had happened. Now came the response. The shuttle carrying Jack Morrison and his team docked with the UNS Independence as chaos erupted throughout Nexus Station. In the council chamber, alien delegates argued in 46 different languages while security forces scrambled to coordinate responses to the human warships. Captain Pete Williams met Jack at the airlock. Sir, we need to move. Our sensors are picking up massive energy buildups throughout the system. They're mobilizing, Jack said, striding toward the command center. How long do we have? Admiral Rodriguez estimates 12 to 15 hours before they can coordinate a full assault, but individual species might act sooner. In the command center, displays showed tactical data streaming across multiple screens. The 17 human ships remained in formation around Nexus Station, but red icons were multiplying rapidly across the system map. Sir, Lieutenant Amy Chen reported, We're detecting at least 43 alien warships converging on our position. The Corlin are moving 3 battle groups from the outer system. Jack nodded grimly. Any responses to our demonstration? Messages coming in from 7 species requesting private negotiations, Lisa Bennett called from her station. The Velari, Quenth, and Balarians want to discuss neutrality agreements. Kevin Wright looked up from another display. Sir, we're also intercepting panicked communications between council members. Several species are questioning the wisdom of attacking humanity now that they've seen our capabilities. Jack moved to the main tactical display. The smart ones are wondering what else we've been hiding. Which is exactly what Admiral Rodriguez wanted, Pete Williams added. Fear creates hesitation. Hesitation creates opportunity. An alert tone sounded across the bridge. Sir, Amy Chen announced. Priority message from Admiral Rodriguez. The tactical display switched to show Admiral Rodriguez in command of the Terran Defense Headquarters, deep within the Sol asteroid belt. Behind her, massive screens showed activity across human space. Ambassador Morrison, the Council has begun implementing their attack plans. We're tracking massive troop movements across their territories. All ally species are marshalling forces. How are our preparations? Jack asked. Ahead of schedule. The deep space defense platforms are online. Our hidden shipyards have accelerated. Production. Most importantly, our probe data shows their main defensive grid has critical vulnerabilities we've been tracking for years. Admiral Rodriguez gestured to someone off-screen. However, we've detected something unexpected. 3 species have withdrawn their forces from the anti-human coalition. The Delthani, Zirathi, and Venton are requesting diplomatic immunity and asylum to human space. Kevin Wright leaned forward. 3 species abandoning the Council already? It's not altruism, Admiral Rodriguez explained. Our intelligence suggests they've realized the same thing we knew months ago. This conflict could destabilize the entire galactic order. They're choosing survival over the Council's agenda. Jack studied the tactical display. The balance of power was shifting faster than anyone had anticipated. What's our current military assessment? Conventional warfare would be catastrophic. For both sides, Admiral Rodriguez replied bluntly. They have numbers. We have technology. The result would be billions of casualties across multiple species, which is why we proceed to Phase 3, Jack concluded. Admiral Rodriguez nodded. Agreed. Ambassador Morrison, you and the Independents need to withdraw to a safe distance. We're about to show the Council our real deterrent. Pete Williams stepped forward. Admiral, the ship is ready to demonstrate our newest defensive systems if needed. Good. You may need them. We're detecting increased quantum disruption across the sector. Someone's testing reality-breaking weapons. Jack felt a chill run down his spine. Reality-breaking weapons were the stuff of science fiction nightmares. Who has that capability? Apparently more species than we thought, Admiral Rodriguez admitted. But we've developed countermeasures. Phase 3 will demonstrate why humanity doesn't just rely on conventional warfare for its defense. The Admiral's image shifted to show a tactical overview of the entire system. In 4 hours, we're initiating the Quantum Mirror Protocol. It will disable all weapon systems within a 30 light-year radius for approximately 6 hours. Lisa, Bennett gasped. Admiral, that will affect our weapons too. Exactly, Jack said, realization dawning. It levels the playing field completely. No species can use advanced weapons against any other. Admiral Rodriguez smiled grim satisfaction. During those 6 hours, we're inviting the Council to engage in genuine negotiations, without the threat of immediate violence, without the ability to enforce their will through force. And if they refuse? Kevin Wright asked. Then we show them the difference between having advanced weapons and having advanced everything else, Admiral Rodriguez replied. Our backup systems, our logistics, our ability to organize under pressure, things we've been developing since before we left Earth. An urgent alarm sounded. Sir, Amy Chen called out. Massive energy spike from the Corlin fleet. They're preparing to fire on our forces. Jack spun to the tactical display. How long until impact? 18 minutes, Pete Williams replied, his hands flying over control panels. All ships report defensive systems online. Admiral Rodriguez's voice cut through the tension. This is exactly what we expected. Ambassador Morrison, clear Nexus Station's proximity. All human ships, prepare for evasive maneuvers and quantum jump. Admiral, Jack said, what about the species trying to negotiate neutrality? We've already transmitted quantum shield protocols to their vessels. They're protected, but everyone else is about to learn why you don't bring old weapons to a new fight. The main display showed the Corlin fleet's massive weapons charging, their energy signatures blazing like new stars against the darkness of space. Simultaneously, warnings lit up across every human ship's tactical display. All ships acknowledge jump preparation, Pete Williams reported. We're ready. Jack watched as the alien weapon signatures reached critical mass. Somewhere in the distance, he knew similar scenes were playing out across multiple systems as various species launched their attacks. Initiate quantum jump in 5 seconds, Admiral Rodriguez commanded across all channels. Let them fire at empty space. The countdown began. On the tactical display, Jack could see the Corlin weapons about to fire, other alien fleets moving into attack positions, and the beginnings of what would have been the largest interstellar war in galactic history. Jump initiated. Reality seemed to twist. The stars outside the Independence's viewports blurred into lines, then shifted to an entirely different configuration. Nexus Station, the alien fleets, even their own warships, all disappeared in a disorienting cascade of light. When space stabilized, they were elsewhere. Safe. Waiting. Jump complete, Amy Chen reported. All ships accounted for. 0 casualties. Jack sank into the captain's chair, suddenly feeling the weight of what had just happened. The first shots of the war had been fired, but humanity had already moved. Beyond that battlefield, Admiral Rodriguez to all ships. The secure channel crackled. Phase 3 initiated. Time until quantum mirror activation. 3 hours 58 minutes. All species are now on notice. The age of dominance through violence ends now. Jack looked at the tactical display, now showing empty space where moments before had been the largest gathering of military forces in galactic history. The war hadn't been avoided. It had been transcended. Sir, Kevin Wright said quietly. What happens next? Jack stood and walked to the viewport, staring out at unfamiliar stars. Next, the galaxy learns that humanity didn't just prepare for this war. We prepared to end all wars like it, whether they're ready or not. In the depths of space, automated systems activated across human space. Quantum mirrors powered up in hidden locations. Defense platforms came online in systems the Council had never discovered. And across the galaxy, every major species suddenly found their military communications being overridden by a single message. Galactic war is obsolete. Join us in building something better. You have 4 hours to decide. The countdown to a new era had begun. 3 months had passed since humanity activated the quantum mirror protocol. The galaxy had changed fundamentally in those 90 days. Jack Morrison stood on the observation deck of the newly constructed Unity Station, watching ships from dozens of species dock in peaceful formation. Still hard to believe, Lisa Bennett said, joining him at the viewport. 3 months ago, we were on the verge of an interstellar war. Not on the verge, Jack corrected gently. We were in one. We just ended it before anyone realized it had begun. The door to the observation deck opened and Captain Pete Williams entered with Kevin Wright. Both men looked considerably more relaxed than they had during those tense hours aboard the Independence. Admiral Morrison, Pete said formally, then smiled. Sorry, still getting used to the promotion. Jack waved dismissively. Admiral Morrison still sounds strange to me too. How are our guests settling in? Better than expected, Kevin replied, consulting a data pad. 43 species have formally joined the Terran Commonwealth. Another 12 are in active negotiations. And the others? Lisa asked. The Corlin Empire requested another extension on their decision, Pete said. Apparently General Vextar is having trouble convincing his military commanders that humanity isn't a threat anymore. Jack laughed softly. Give them time. Old fears die hard. The observation deck's communication system activated. Admiral Morrison to the main conference room. The Galactic Council delegation has arrived. Jack took a deep breath. And here we go, ready to make history again? The main conference room was vastly different from the council chamber on Nexus Station. Instead of separate species areas and hierarchical seating, Unity Station featured a circular table where representatives sat as equals. The Terran Commonwealth had insisted on this design from the beginning. As Jack entered, he saw familiar faces. Zakthul, the Zephyrian, still served as council speaker, though his silver feathers seemed less bright than before. Thrawn, the Thanari, had actually smiled when he'd arrived on the station yesterday. Even General Vextar was present, though. He maintained his typical Corlin stoicism. Councillor Zakthul, Jack greeted formally. Thank you for accepting our invitation to discuss the future of galactic governance. Zakthul's wings rustled. A gesture Jack had learned meant nervous uncertainty. Admiral Morrison, 3 months ago, we feared humanity would conquer the galaxy through military force. Now we find ourselves rethinking many of our assumptions. The quantum weapons ban affected everyone equally, Jack acknowledged, including us. But your infrastructure survived better than ours, Thrawn observed. Your ships could function without quantum weapons. Ours, struggled. Jack nodded. We designed our systems differently. Not because we planned to disarm the galaxy, but because we believed in flexibility. General Vextar's armored shell clicked. The Corlin also value flexibility, but we built our military might to maintain order. Order through strength has its place, Jack agreed. But sustainable order requires something more. It requires trust. The council members exchanged glances. Over the past 3 months, they had seen humanity's true capabilities. The hidden shipyards that outproduced all alien manufacturing combined. The quantum research that had leaped centuries ahead of galactic standards. The social systems that allowed humanity to mobilize resources more efficiently than any council species. But they had also seen something unexpected. Humanity had shared its technologies freely with species that chose to join the Commonwealth. Medical advances, agricultural improvements, even educational systems, all offered without demands for subjugation or control. Admiral Morrison, Zakthul said finally, the Council has spent 3 months analyzing humanity's rise. We now understand our error. Oh? Jack leaned forward, genuinely interested. We feared you would repeat history, Thrawn explained. Throughout galactic history, when one species achieves technological superiority, they dominate others. The cycle has repeated for millennia. But we broke the cycle, General Vextar added, his voice carrying grudging respect. You achieved superiority but chose partnership instead of conquest. Jack smiled. We had good teachers. Earth's history is full of empires that rose and fell. We learned from those mistakes. Zakthul extended one wing toward Jack, a Zephyrian gesture of formal recognition. On behalf of the Galactic Council, humanity is invited to assume its place as senior members of galactic governance. The room fell silent. Jack felt the weight of the moment. This was the offer the Council had tried to prevent just months ago. We're honored, Jack replied carefully. But with respect, the Terran Commonwealth doesn't seek to lead alone. We propose something different. He activated the holographic display in the center of the table. A reformed council. No species holds permanent power. All decisions require consensus from at least 60% of members. Technology sharing is mandatory. Military forces remain modest and defensive only. And enforcement? General Vextar asked. Voluntary compliance backed by quantum monitoring, Jack explained. The same systems that disarmed the galaxy can detect rule violations instantly. But more importantly, member species prosper through cooperation. The old way, dominance through fear, simply doesn't work anymore. The alien delegates studied the proposal. Lisa Bennett leaned over to whisper, they're actually considering it. After several minutes of consultation among themselves, Zakthul spoke for the Council. Admiral Morrison, the Council accepts humanity's proposal. We will reform galactic governance along these lines. With one condition, General Vextar added. At Jack's raised eyebrow, he continued, "Humanity must share the quantum weapon neutralization technology with all members. No species should hold that power alone." Jack nodded slowly. "Agreed. Though I should mention we've already begun dismantling the quantum mirror arrays. They served their purpose." Thrawn's glowing eyes widened. "You're giving up your ultimate weapon?" "It was never meant to be permanent," Jack explained. "The quantum mirror was a reset button, not a control mechanism. Now we build something better." 4 hours later, Jack found himself back on the observation deck with his team. Through the viewport, they watched as representatives from 56 species signed the charter of the reformed Galactic Council. "Think it will last?" Pete Williams asked. "Nothing lasts forever," Jack replied. "But for now, we've opened a door. Maybe the next generation will walk through it differently than we did." Lisa Bennett smiled. "Any regrets about how it all turned out?" Jack watched as an Corlin diplomatic vessel approached the station in formation with human ships. "Just one. I wish we could have had this conversation 3 months ago without all the military posturing." "The universe rarely makes things that simple," Kevin Wright observed. "True," Jack agreed. "But it made us resilient enough to handle the complexity, and wise enough to choose peace when we had the power to choose war." Outside, the stars shone with the same indifferent light they had for billions of years. But in this small corner of the galaxy, 47 species were learning to work together instead of against each other. The threats and fears of old were being replaced with something humanity had always believed in, the possibility that tomorrow could be better than today. Jack Morris turned away from the viewport, heading back to work. There were still species to welcome, technologies to share, and diplomatic challenges to resolve. The easy part, changing the balance of power, was over. Now came the hard part, building something that would last. The galaxy had watched in fear as humanity stood and walked away from the talks. Now it watched in cautious hope as humanity worked to build a future worth walking toward. And in the depths of space, automated beacons transmitted a simple message to any species that might listen. The age of fear is over. The age of cooperation has begun. Join us. The galaxy would never be the same. And for the first time in millennia, that was exactly what it needed.